Good evening, aspirants. Welcome to daily news analysis of Shankar IAS Academy. Today's date is 9th of April 2024. Displayed here are the articles that we are going to discuss today. So as you can see, we have taken articles from different newspapers. So before entering into the discussion, I have an important announcement to make. Are you ready to ace the UPSC Prelims? Welcome to Shankar's Telegram live series, your ultimate guide to UPSC Prelims preparation. Join us for our first Telegram live session with Mr. Satyakrishnan. He is here to share invaluable insights on maximizing the last 10 weeks of your prelims preparation. Don't miss this chance to supercharge your UPSC journey. Tune into Shankar's Telegram live series on April 10th, that is tomorrow at 7 p.m. on Shankar IAS Academy's Telegram channel. The link to the Telegram channel has been shared in our description and pinned comment. Please check it out. Now let us see few important previous year questions. First, look at this question. It is about the nominal effective exchange rate and the real effective exchange rate. These are used as indicators of external competitiveness. First, let us understand about the concepts and come back to this question. So nominal effective exchange rate (NEAR) is a weighted average of country's currency relative to the basket of foreign currencies. It measures the value of country's currency against those of its major trading partners, taking into account exchange rates and trade weights. NEAR is calculated without adjusting for inflation or other factors affecting the purchasing power. Next one is real effective exchange rate, that is REAR. REAR is similar to NEAR but adjusted for inflation or differences in the price level between the countries. It reflects the relative value of a country's currency after accounting for differences in price levels, making it more accurate measure of competitiveness. REAR is calculated by dividing the NEAR by a price index or inflation factor. So in essence, NEAR provides a measure of country's currency value against a basket of currencies, while REAR adjusts this measure to reflect the differences in price levels, providing a more comprehensive view of currency competitiveness. Now coming back to the question, an increase in nominal effective exchange rate (NEAR) indicates appreciation of rupee. Yes, this statement is correct. Second, an increase in the real effective exchange rate (REAR) indicates an improvement in trade competitiveness. This statement is incorrect. An increase in nation's REAR is an indication that its exports are becoming more expensive and its imports are becoming cheaper. It means it is losing its trade competitiveness. Look at the third statement. An increasing trend in domestic inflation relative to inflation in other countries is likely to cause an increasing divergence between NEAR and REAR. Yes, this statement is correct. So here the answer is option C, 1 and 3. Look at this UPSC 2023 prelims question. They're asking about uranium and coal reserves in India. This topic is one of the important topics asked frequently in UPSC. So let us understand about some basic facts and come back to this question. Firstly, what is uranium? Say uranium is a silvery grey metallic and radioactive chemical element. It is only naturally found in supernova explosions. Uranium, thorium and potassium are the main elements contributing to natural terrestrial radioactivity. Uranium isotopes in natural uranium are uranium-238, that is 99.27%, and uranium-235, that is 0.72%. All uranium isotopes are radioactive and fissionable, but only uranium-235 is fissile, that is, it will support a neutron-mediated chain reaction. Traces of uranium are found everywhere. Commercial extraction is possible only in locations where the proportion of uranium is adequate. There are few such locations. For instance, India has no significant reserves of uranium. All needs are met through imports from mainly Russia, Kazakhstan, France. Some quality reserves were recently discovered in the parts of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana between Seshachalam forest and Srisailam. It is located in southern edge of Telangana. The largest viable deposits are found in Australia, Kazakhstan and Canada. And also note that Kazakhstan is the world's largest producer of uranium. So now coming back to the question, statement 1, India despite having uranium deposits depends on coal for most of its electric production. This statement is correct. Both conventional, that is thermal, nuclear and hydro, and renewable, that is wind, solar and biomass etc. energy sources are used to produce electricity in India. However, the majority of electricity is produced by coal-fired thermal plant, which provides about 58% of total electricity. In the year 2021-2022, approximately 3.15% of the nation's electricity was generated using nuclear energy. Next statement, uranium enriched to the extent of at least 60% is required for the production of electricity. This statement is incorrect because uranium enrichment of uranium-235 isotope 3 to 5% is required for electricity generation. Research reactors uses uranium that has been highly enriched to the concentration of at least 20%. At least 90% of enriched uranium is considered as weapon grade uranium. Here uranium enrichment means the process of increasing the percent of uranium-235 from 0.7% in the natural uranium to about 3 to 5% for the use in fuel for nuclear reactors. Enrichment can be done through gaseous diffusion, gas centrifuges, or laser isotope separation. So the correct answer is option C. Statement 1 is correct, but the second statement is incorrect. With this, let us move on to the next article. Look at this article. This news article talks about a recent study that gives a genetic explanation for why apes, including humans, lack tails. So in this news article discussion, let us learn some of the important points from this article. Before that, you should know about what is meant by genome. See, genome is a sum of all genetic material or complete set of deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA, in an individual. Here, DNA is nothing but the unit forming genome. Remember, DNA is a long, coiled double helix molecule that contains genetic instructions. The short sections of DNA that contain the code for a specific protein are known as genes. These proteins are responsible for many of our physical characteristics and biological functions. The genes are present on chromosomes found inside the nucleus of a living cell. So remember this order. Hence, we can say that the genome of an individual consists of 23 pairs of chromosomes located in the cell's nucleus, as well as a small chromosome in the cell's mitochondria. A genome contains all the information needed for an individual to develop and function. Remember, every cell of an organism contains a full copy of the genome. As I said earlier, the genome contains the information that the cell uses to make proteins. Each protein is coded by a specific section of a genome, that is by the gene. But not all cells make all the proteins encoded in the genome. For example, pancreatic cell make insulin, but skin cells don't. Skin cells make other proteins known as keratin that the pancreas cells don't. In humans, only 1.5% of the genome codes for protein. That too, they serve for different purposes. So, what about the remaining genome? The DNA sequence that has no relevant biological function, or in other words, the regions of DNA that are non-coded to make any protein, is known as the junk DNAs. So far, these regions were considered as evolutionary remnants or genetic garbage. But the recent study by scientists have found that the composition and function of junk DNA is crucial for identifying genetic changes responsible for specific traits, such as the loss of tail in apes. Scientists have found a type of junk DNA that can insert themselves into different parts of genome and potentially disrupt gene functions. The name of such junk DNA is the alu element. It is the transposable element, or also known as the jumping genes. They are actually DNA sequences that moves from one location on the genome to another. When this alu element occurs in a gene called TBXT, there occurs a defection that results in loss of tail. The study says that this is how modern apes and even humans do not have a tail. Now we can say that research into the functions of non-coding DNA is helping us to uncover new insights into the complexity of genome regulation and evolution. So that's all about this article. With this, let us move on to the next news article. Look at this article. Household debt in India reached a record high of 40% of GDP by December 2023, while net financial savings dropped about 5% of GDP. Also, the Reserve Bank of India reported in September 2023 that household savings were at their lowest in 47 years, sparking criticism, which the Finance Ministry countered by stating that people were taking loans to buy assets like home and cars, indicating confidence in the future income. Revised national income estimates for 2022-23 showed slightly higher savings at 5.3% of GDP, still the lowest in 47 years, and weaker than the average of 7.6% recorded between 2011-12 and 2019-20. Household debt levels were also revised upwards to 38% of GDP in 2022-23, the second highest after the previous year's 39.1% of GDP. So this is about the article. In this context, let us understand about public debt in India. Public debt refers to the total amount of money that government owes to external creditors and domestic lenders. In India, public debt comprise all obligations of Union government that are required to be settled using funds from the Consolidated Fund of India. As of March 2023, India's central government debt was 155.6 trillion rupees, or 57.1% of GDP. State government debt was about 28% of GDP. India's public debt to GDP ratio increased from 81% in 2005-6 to 84% in 2021-22 and then back to 81% in 22-23. According to the International Monetary Fund, India's government debt is projected to decline to 80.5% in 2028. Also note that India's external debt to GDP ratio fell to 18.6% at the end of September 2023. Now we shall see concerns for public debt management in India. Interest payments in India amounting to more than 5% of GDP and 25% of revenue receipt on average exceed government spending on vital areas such as education and healthcare. High levels of public debt may restrict the government's capacity to enact counter-cyclical fiscal measures in times of economic downturn. This limitation can impede the government's effectiveness in responding to shocks and economic challenges. Persistently high deficits and debt levels can lead to lower sovereign rating by rating agencies, which can increase the cost of external commercial borrowings, making it more expensive for the government to raise funds from the international market. A significant amount is allocated to government departments where corruption, bribery, and bureaucratic hurdles are prevalent, leading to the misuse of public money. The excessive accumulation of debt may give rise to concerns regarding intergovernmental equity, as future citizens could be burdened with repaying both the principal and the interest occurred during the period of financial imprudence. The fusion of capital into state-run banks through recapitalization bonds has implications for intergenerational burdens. Then there is a problem of crowding out. Large government borrowings may crowd out private investments by absorbing the available funds in the financial market, impacting the economic growth. When the private investment is crowded out, business may face challenges in expanding the operations, adopting new technologies, or enhancing the productivity, which could impact the overall competitiveness of the economy. So that's all about India's debt statistics. With this, let us move on to the next news article. Look at this article. It discusses India's efforts and initiatives towards regulating AI systems and developing its AI ecosystem. It highlights the significance of India's response in the light of its large consumer base and labor force in technology companies. By 2030, India aims to have over 10,000 deep tech startups. To boost its AI ecosystem, India approved a 10,300 crore allocation for the India AI mission. The funds will support public-private partnership and promote the startup ecosystem. To begin with, what is the need for regulation of artificial intelligence? Firstly, lack of transparency. Many AI algorithms operate as black boxes, making it difficult to understand how they reach their decisions. For example, medical AI system recommending a specific medical treatment but cannot explain its reasoning. Secondly, privacy and data protection. AI systems rely on vast amounts of personal data, raising concerns about privacy and data protection. For example, lawsuits against Silicon Valley giants for data and privacy breach in their AI systems. Thirdly, security risks. AI systems can be vulnerable to cybersecurity threats and attacks. For example, adversarial attacks can manipulate AI models, posing risks in critical domains such as autonomous vehicles or healthcare. Fourthly, ethical considerations. AI raises ethical questions related to the impact on jobs, social inequality, and concentration of power. For example, automated decision making in hiring process have shown to perpetuate existing biases and result in unfair outcomes. Fifthly, artificial general intelligence (AGI) can self-learn and go beyond human intelligence, raising concerns of predictability and security. These machines have the potential to make life and death decisions without direct human intervention, leading to ethical dilemma regarding the value of human life. Now let us see what is the status of regulation of AI in India. Firstly, Digital India Framework. India is developing a comprehensive Digital India Framework that will conclude provisions for regulating AI. The framework aims to protect digital citizens and ensure the safe and trusted use of AI. Secondly, National AI Program. India has established a National AI Program to promote the efficient and responsible use of AI. Thirdly, National Data Governance Framework Policy. India has implemented National Data Governance Framework Policy to govern the collection, storage, and use of data, including data used in AI systems. This policy will help ensure the ethical and responsible handling of data in the AI ecosystem. Fourthly, Draft Digital India Act. The Ministry of Information Technology and Electronics, that is MeitY, is working on framing the Draft Digital India Act, which will replace the existing IT Act. The new act will have a specific chapter dedicated to emerging technologies, particularly AI, and how to regulate them to protect users from harm. So that's all about AI regulations in India. With this, let us move on to the next news article. Let us now move on to our mains answer writing practice. Look at this question. What is the status of digitalization in the Indian economy? Examine the problems faced in this regard and suggest improvements. So this question comes under GS paper 3 of UPSC Mains. Now let's get into the discussion. See, this question has 3 parts: status of digitalization in economy, then problems, and finally improvements needed. And for this question, we are going to follow intro, body, and conclusion format of answer. So let's get started. For the introduction part, we need to provide some basic definitions of digitalization with some schemes helping it. So intro goes like this. Digitalization in Indian economy refers to increased adoption of digital technologies to transform traditional economic activities, processes, competencies, and models, enhancing efficiency, productivity, and overall growth. So this can be your introduction. Now moving on to the body part. Here we have to address 3 parts, as I said earlier, and note that every part of the body needs to be substantiated with examples and data if possible. So the first part, status of digitalization in Indian economy. Firstly, we can talk about growing digital payments. See, UPI is a shining example with platforms like BIM, Google Pay, Phone Pay facilities, seamless and real-time money transfers. Recently, UPI monthly transaction volumes likely crossed historic 10 billion mark in August 2023. And also know that according to RBI, the share of India's core digital economy increased from 8.5% of GVA in 2019 to 12.5% in 2023, with a growth rate of 15.6% over 2019 to 2023. Next, we will talk about Digital India campaign. See, this campaign was launched in 2015. Digital India initiative aspired to digitally empower the citizens. For instance, with over 15 crore registered users and 60 million monthly active engagements, DigiLocker has made accessing and sharing documents easier. Next, we can talk about Aadhaar. As the world's largest biometric ID system, Aadhaar has over 1.3 billion enrollments. It not only ensures identity but also eases various services such as direct benefit transfer, ensuring subsidies directly reaching beneficiaries' bank accounts, eliminating the intermediaries. Next, e-commerce. Giants like Amazon and Flipkart have garnered widespread popularity with Big Billion Days sale by Flipkart and Great Indian Festival sale by Amazon, generating sales worth billions in mere days, indicating their deep-rooted presence in the Indian market. We can also talk about telemedicine. The pandemic made in-person medical consultations challenging, paving the way for platforms like Practo and Docon, which witnessed a surge. By April 2020, Practo reported a 500% growth in teleconsultations, providing a lifeline to many amidst lockdowns. Then we can discuss about GSTN. The introduction of GSTN network simplified the indirect tax system, providing a unified platform for taxpayers. Over 1.2 crore businesses are registered under GSTN, making tax compliance more structured and transparent. Moving ahead, let's address the problem of digitalization. First and foremost is cybersecurity. The increasing reliance on digital platforms has elevated the risk of cyber attacks. In 2020, India faced second highest number of cyber attacks in the Asia Pacific region, highlighting the pressing need for fortified cybersecurity measures. Secondly, privacy concerns. Recent years have witnessed rising apprehensions regarding data privacy. The Pegasus spyware incident, where personal data of several Indian citizens were allegedly compromised, accentuated these concerns, pointing towards the vulnerabilities in the digital space. Next is digital divide. For Digital India to have a large-scale impact on citizens across nation, the digital divide needs to be addressed through last-mile connectivity in remote rural areas, as currently over 55,000 villages remain deprived of mobile connectivity. Next is lack of infrastructural development. The biggest challenge faced by Digital India is slow or delayed infrastructure development. Spectrum availability in Indian metros is about a tenth of that in cities in developed countries, which has put a major roadblock in providing high-speed data services. Next important point is language barrier. Despite the multilingual populace of India, the majority of digital content is in English, alienating non-English speakers. Developing content in various regional languages can be a pivotal step in overcoming this barrier. Next is e-waste management. The surge in digitalization has increased the generation of e-waste. In 2019, India has generated approximately 3.2 million tons of e-waste, highlighting the urgent necessity for robust e-waste management strategies to mitigate environmental impacts. Finally, let us go for the last part of our body, that is the improvements needed. First one is digital literacy programs. With special focus on rural areas and older demographies can greatly help. Example, the government could collaborate with popular platforms like WhatsApp or YouTube, which have significant outreach to deliver digital tutorials in regional languages. Next is local language integration. By employing advanced natural language processing (NLP) algorithms, digital interfaces can be transformed to understand and respond in multiple Indian languages, making them more user-friendly for a broader audience. Next is cybersecurity measures. Establishing regional cybersecurity hubs that can focus on localized digital threats and provide real-time solutions is crucial. These hubs can also serve as training centers for cyber professionals. Next is public-private partnership. Emphasizing the collaboration between the private tech giants and the government can lead to faster implementation of digital infrastructure and innovative solutions. Example, the Indian Railways and Google partnership, which provide free Wi-Fi at railway stations. Now, having discussed the body part, let's now move on to the conclusion. The conclusion should summarize the answer with some positive note as a way forward. So our conclusion goes like this. Digitalization has indeed spurred growth and added dynamic dimension to the Indian economy. However, it is imperative to address the existing challenges through innovative and inclusive strategies to harness the full potential of digitalization and steer the nation towards digitally empowered economy. So that's all about mains answer writing practice. With this, let us move on to the next news article. Now moving on to the next article, look at this Business Standard article. After the US imposed 25% tariff on Chinese electronics in 2018, China's export to the US dropped significantly. This created an opportunity for other countries to increase their electronic exports to the US. Vietnam, Taiwan and Mexico made the most of this chance, significantly boosting their exports. India also increased its electronic exports to the US, but not as much as these countries. The Indian Cellular and Electronic Association (ICEA) believes India was slow to act but is now trying to catch up and increase its share of electronics exports to the US. That's all about this article. With this, let us move on to the next news article. Look at this article. India has utilized the WTO's peace class for the 5th year in a row because its subsidies for rice farmers exceeded the international limits, aiming to ensure domestic food security without impacting the global trade. Meanwhile, in a different economic domain, India has not capitalized as effectively as Vietnam, Taiwan and Mexico in filling the gap in the US electronic market created by tariffs on Chinese goods. That's all. Here in 2024, the Indian Army is focusing on using more advanced technology to prove its operations and stay ahead of its enemies. This effort is part of becoming self-reliant and includes adding new technology like artificial intelligence, drones and space technology to its existing military equipment. While new technology is important, old strategies and equipment will still be used alongside the new advancements. The real success in warfare doesn't just come from having advanced technology, but also how it is used in the battle. Recent conflicts have shown that traditional military strength and tactics are still very effective. The Indian Army aims to blend new technologies with its current methods effectively, which will require changes in tactics, training and organizational structures. So that's all about this article. Now let us move on to the prelims practice question discussion. First question, which of the following pertains to the genome of an organism? Option A, the genetic material in the nucleus. B, the genetic material outside the nucleus. C, the genetic material, all the genetic material of an organism. Here the answer is option C, all the genetic material of an organism. Next question, which of the following statements accurately distinguishes between artificial intelligence, machine learning and deep learning? learning? Here the answer is option A. AI is the broad field of computer science that encompasses machine learning and deep learning. Machine learning is a subset of AI that focus on using data to train models, while deep learning is a subset of machine learning that uses deep neural networks. Look at this quiz question. The term crowding out effect, often seen in the news, is related to which of the following? So read it carefully and post your answers in the comment section. With this, we come to the end of this news article discussion. If you like the video, do like, share and subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy. Now thank you so much for watching.